I smell a redesign. Wait, don't start the website redesign yet. Hi there, in today's episode we will be talking about how to actually go about starting a redesign on your website, the best way and then the not so best way but still a pretty good way of redesigning it. And that way when you are taking a look at your website and starting to schedule out a redesign, you'll be able to really see what works, what won't work, and how to really go about tackling that project. My name is Yasmin Robles and I am the owner of Robles Designs, where we create drill-worthy websites for entrepreneurs who are hell-bent on taking over the world. Make sure to go to roblesdesigns.com/checklist and you can download a free PDF. It's basically a list of items that your website really should have, whether you are DIYing it, whether you're working with a designer, whether it's your first site or your third iteration. You really want to make sure that these basic items are included in your website. So you have taken the plunge and you are thinking of redesigning your website. You might have DIY'd it in the past, or you might have just gotten a very small website package and you feel like it's really time to redesign, and it could be for a variety of reasons. Either you launched a new product, your brand or your business has pivoted in a different direction, or it's just been a while, it's been more than 3 years and your website just really needs to look up to date and better than your competition, right? So you've decided to redesign the website. Redesigning a website can be a pretty risky move sometimes, especially if you're getting high traffic, high conversion rates. I totally get it. You might want to just dive in and just kind of like scrap the whole thing and start fresh. But ideally, if you already have a site and it's converting really well and it has traffic coming in and it's working really well as is right now, here are a few tips to tackle the redesign, because it's a completely different methodology than a website that doesn't have any traffic or barely has traffic or that is not converting. So let's take the easy route, I guess, in terms of the way of explaining it. When your website has very little traffic, or the traffic's really that's coming in is not really converting at all, it's not even maybe it's not even the traffic that you want to have come in. Maybe your business is completely new, as in you've pivoted to a completely new direction. And let's say you were a business coach and now you're selling something else. You can definitely go in and with certain factors, you can go in and completely scrap the site, launch a new one, and no harm, no foul. You didn't really have that much traffic to begin with. You weren't converting probably, and so it's totally fine to just go in, scrap the site, and put up a new one. And the new one should hopefully have some strategy to it. And so you can take the learnings from the old site and from feedback from your clients, your target market, and input it into the new website and just kind of just scrap the old one and put the new one up. That's the easy strategy or explanation. But if your site it is converting, it is getting a lot of traffic, there's traction on your site, it's either growing or it's been really steady, and you'd really just want to redesign the site either for aesthetic purposes or because you've seen maybe a kind of tick down, a downturn slightly on conversion rates, and so you want to kind of freshen it up, redesign the site, reorganize it. It's perfectly great, but we want to do it strategically. What I recommend for that scenario, the second scenario where you do have conversions, you do have some traffic and some value on the website, then I would suggest a really slow rollout of the new design. And the reason for this is because you want to make sure that the changes that you're making on that new website are actually going to support your conversion rates, and you don't want to completely launch a new one and then realize that it didn't help at all and you have to revert all of the pages, you have to revert the entire thing back to what it was before. Because let's face it, a pretty website, although it's great, it doesn't mean it's going to convert. Yes, it can have all these flashy items and gifts and things on it, but it doesn't mean that it's actually going to convert or move your business forward. It could have been, sometimes honestly, you can have a gigantic site and all you really needed was a landing page that gave out information. So we want to do this, again, strategically. During the slow rollout phase, I typically will, after looking at what the traffic's like, the pages, all of that information, we sometimes also, additionally to the research, we also look at what your current customers are saying about your site. We might poll them, we might just talk to them, what people new to your brand are saying when they come to your site. You can do one of those surveys things that pops up and then gets people information. So you can do this as research, and then the next thing we would list out a list of priorities that you would get to tackle. So for example, if we want to really freshen up just the colors of the brand, the look and feel, because maybe you have pivoted to a different color scheme, you have brightened it, made it more neutral, maybe your logo has changed, your fonts have changed, then what we would do is we would say, okay, let's start tackling maybe just the fonts and the colors first, maybe add the new logo to the site, and let's see how that rollout goes and how it affects any of the users that are coming to the site. And what I typically recommend is doing an A/B test. So what an A/B test is, basically you, let's say you split your audience in half for the people coming to your site, the A audience and the B audience, and then you make one strategic change to the site for the B audience. And the other audience gets to look at the same exact website. And there's some tools online for doing this, and usually it depends on your budget if you can do this or not. But let's say the A audience is looking at the same old website as before. B audience, you might have changed the color scheme. And so then you take the statistics, and did you convert more people? Did it stay the same? Did you hear complaints? Did you hear compliments? What was the customer feedback, and what did they actually do? So customers can say one thing, but sometimes they actually do something completely different on the website. So you want to make sure you're tracking everything. You got heat maps going, all of the analytics going, and you can then say, did the change in color scheme affect anything? And if it didn't, great. If it actually improved conversion, then that's even better. The next thing that I would do is choose, again, strategically, something else to change and continue to A/B test it. So now we have rolled out the color changes to everyone, and we will now change something else. So this could be maybe some of the imagery could change. So we would do A test, B test, and just see what the reaction is, how people are moving throughout the site, how their flow is going, the user flow. Are they actually going to where you want them to go? Are they actually purchasing more? Are they adding more to cart? All of these factors that would go into it. And again, analytics, heat maps, all of these crazy things that you need to be looking at, all these numbers, not just the pretty graphics on a website. Now, don't worry if you don't have the capabilities of doing an A/B test. What some clients of mine have done in the past is they have swapped out things little by little. Again, it's a slow rollout. So you want to make sure that you have an outline of your priorities. So it might be the logo, the color scheme, the fonts, imagery, and then maybe reorganizing what the copy is. So new copy, reorganizing what sections are on the home page, what you're displaying on the mega menu. All of these could go on a list, and then we would slowly start rolling it out. So for example, week 1 or maybe 2 weeks, we would actually change out the logo, the color scheme, and the fonts. We would wait, see the analytics, make sure we give the analytics enough time so that we can really see if it supported or didn't really do anything for your conversion. And if it went down, we can revert, and we only have to revert a small amount instead of an entire site. And so then after we look at the analytics, we can say, okay, well, actually this doesn't seem to have done much, but you did get compliments online. You got some customer feedback that they really like the shift in the branding and the colors and the fonts and the logo. Now let's add something else. So then we would, again, go onto maybe just one page, just the home page, and reorganize the hierarchy of the different sections on the home page. And we would then wait, pause, see what the analytics say, see if it's actually working. And if it is working, then that's great. We can start rolling out a little bit more of that same strategy, that hierarchy of the page, to the rest of the site. Again, slowly rolling it out to certain pages until the entire site is rebuilt. So the pros and cons of a slow rollout are that it's slow, so that's a con. A lot of people just like to launch something new and just kind of like pop it out there into the world. And although that's great, usually there's sometimes not a lot of strategy that goes behind it. It's just like, hey, we need a new brand, we're refreshing it, we're reorganizing everything, and sometimes clients haven't even checked their analytics. They just want to do this refresh. So that's the con. People are just not as patient with it, and it might be a bigger ding on your budget if you're doing this slow rollout, because you do have to consider the SEO, the conversion rates, the strategy, the research that goes into almost every single piece that's going to be changed, the scheduling of every single piece, the staging process, just to kind of confirm and approve of items and then push it to production on the website. So there are more pieces, and it could stretch. I've had some stretch from 3 months to 6 months or more, just because we were slow in rolling out every piece, and we really wanted to get the analytics in and ensure that nothing was touching conversions. Other clients, though, they have opted, although they have the conversion rates and they have the traffic, they have opted for just launching a new website. And usually this is fine, especially when we don't really change URLs. We do a few 301 redirects. We will also keeping certain structures in place, maybe not changing the menu drastically, just kind of streamlining it a little bit so that the strategy for the website, for the user flow, is more aligned with the business. And we do this, but we always give a slight, not a warning, but a slight caveat that typically traffic might go down slightly. Conversion rates might also slow down, and they should pick back up again. It also depends on a lot of factors like your marketing, your social media, strategies, all of that. But typically there is a little bit of a downturn, and then it'll come back up again. But it really, really depends on, did you think about 301 redirects? Did you completely change all of your URLs so that your things like the about page is not just /about-us anymore, it is just the word about. So we would have to create a 301 redirect instead of just kind of you just changing the URL. So those are some things to think about when it comes to rolling out and redesigning a new website. You can check out my previous video for how to redesign a website, or when it's time to redesign a website. And although those were a lot of great reasons to redesign a website, you really then want to see if you're going to just pop out a new site, like really work hard on it, which could take a month, it could take 3 months, it could take 6 months. Some e-commerce sites take a year. And so you could just work on that behind the scenes and then pop that out. Or you could do a slow rollout where here is the end goal, and then we're going to slowly roll out the site in phases and see what the analytics tell us, see what the numbers say, and make decisions going forward that way. So hopefully that helps you with your planning of the website redesign that you might have coming up. Make sure to check out roblescience.com/checklist for the list of items at your site, whether you are DIYing it or you are creating your third website. You might want to just kind of make sure you check off certain items on there, and make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you in the next video.